what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, show me the money? How about bootstrapping to minimize the money you're going to need? We'll share an article on bootstrapping, and as a show of solidarity, my co-host Gary and I will again forego our salaries for hosting today's podcast. Our guest today is a local entrepreneur, Julia Matheson, who has created her own virtual business, Travel Julia's Way, to assist in planning your next vacation. She'll share her story, talk about the pros and cons of a virtual business, and hopefully give us a few travel tips too. And of course, we'll end the episode with our Small Businesses of the Month feature, where we'll highlight small businesses which we've come across that you should be checking out. Greetings, my name is Jeff Neuville. I'm your co-host. I'm director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is Dean of the School of Business, Industry, and Technology at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, how are you doing today?
Jeff, I was doing great till you told me we weren't going to get paid.
Sorry.
I'm not going to be able to go to McDonald's this afternoon.
Maybe some of us will put a little money in to help
that
you out
would be nice.
there.
I just need a 32-ounce Coke, as you can tell from my raspy voice.
There's a lot of pollen out there. We're taping in early May, so it's and I would think for a dean, May is a pretty busy time for you. You got to graduate some kids.
Graduation comes up in just about a week. And it's an exciting time, but it is a busy time.
All right. Are we in exams still? Or are we
exams? Final projects just came from final presentations for an IT class, and we got some really good students. Really proud of them.
Okay. Well, good. Well, you're doing good work.
I'm not, but I have really good faculty.
Okay, well, good for you. Well, we like to always touch on an article, and one that you and I were talking a little bit about was something that we saw in Entrepreneur Magazine this past most recent edition, the May edition, called Busted Budgets Can't Stop You. And it had some profiles and examples of entrepreneurs who initially were looking for money, might have been thwarted a bit and sort of overcame that, and had some interesting examples and profiles. You seemed to like a couple of them. What was your takeaway there?
Well, I thought it was very interesting because you kind of think how you're going to raise money, and you think about going traditional, trying to find an angel investor or someone that's going to do it. And not that these folks didn't do that, but they came away with some different ideas and different ways to raise money or get their business going, like Strange Donuts.
Strange Donuts, yeah.
That caught my ear, which I thought was a great name anyway.
And what did you like about what he did? What did he do to get his money?
He had a Poe tournament.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. But he had wrestling nights. He ventured off into different things and to get people involved in his business of Strange Donuts. It didn't really talk about how strange they were. But it really, I probably would have gone because of the name.
Yeah, well, he had a lot of strange events that seemed to build a following before he actually got his business open. And so when he actually opened the doors, it looked like he had a lot of people that were supporting him.
Yeah, and I think he raised $20,000 and then Kickstarter for $12,000. In fact, one of the people that invested was one of the people that came to the Strange Donut Strange Activities. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I like the fact that he has a picture of himself with his baseball cap on backwards.
I don't know if that's that strange, but
no, that wasn't strange.
There was also one of the young entrepreneurs who actually had made a habit of competing in business competitions.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And actually had studied up on making presentations, watched Steve Jobs, and got to a point where she was actually doing very well. And,
making a business out of doing well in speaking contests.
That's right, and had gotten up to like $50,000 in winnings to help fund her initial business.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
And the article also touches on a few of the, I don't know if we'll say lessons, but just some common practices for bootstrapping, and a couple of them that I thought were noteworthy. One which I think people just don't do enough of, it says have awkward conversations to make sure that customers actually want your product or service.
It's interesting. I've been in a lot of business classes in the last week or two, and that's one of the things talking about is a lot of times people fall in love with their idea and hope, or they assume, let's say, that the market wants to buy it or that there is a market for it, as opposed to, hey, there's a need, and then I'm going to go try to solve it. I mean, it's such a classic business concept, but, we get excited about something and say, well, I like it. I think it's really cool.
That's right, or my spouse likes it.
Right. And you spend a lot of time and energy on something that maybe there are only a handful of people that like it. And it's such a basic concept, but it's a key thing. Sometimes it's hard. You deal with entrepreneurs all the time, and you don't want to be the dream killer. What's your title?
I'm trying to be the dream crusher.
Dream crusher.
Not so killer.
See, but I got the concept.
Yes.
And you're not that, but you want to be able to make sure that people don't spend a lot of time and money on something that may not be the next Apple.
Well, and we want them to, I think we all want them to have some reality base, and the more customers or potential customers they can talk to, the better off they are. The article also says, hey, if you're bootstrapping, you might have to don't rule out moving back in with mom and dad.
Exactly right.
You want to save some money.
That's a way of raising money by not having to spend some.
Yeah, start by saving on rent.
Yep.
Talks about one of their principles: sell your unneeded crap. You might have stuff that you used to need, and whether you
My
look
wife
at
buys
eBay,
that all the time. Wants me to do that.
When she's always buying extra crap, or she wants you to
she's
sell your
trying
crap.
to cut back everything we have.
Well, you probably have like a half dozen sets of golf clubs in your garage.
I'm a little sentimental, and she says, "When's the last time you used that?" And I don't know, but I know I might need it someday.
Yeah, I'm looking at my garage now, saying, do I need 6 basketballs, or when am I actually going to use that baseball glove again? Priceless items, and I'm sure would generate lots of revenue.
Would carry a lot in the yard sale. I think that's true.
And one last one. The article talks about asking for a deal, and don't hesitate to negotiate, and has some examples about even if you were talking to a lawyer or somebody about writing up a contract, maybe you can get them to give you terms and pay them in a few months or something. And there's always ways to negotiate. So you can't negotiate if you don't ask. So
exactly, be creative.
Be creative, and don't assume that every price you see is the final price.
Exactly. And I'll end on one from Anthony, who said, "Fake it till you make it."
Fake it till you make it.
That works in so many different ways.
Podcasting and many other things.
Most everything I've been in.
Yeah, well, we'll keep up.
I haven't made it yet, but I'm still faking it.
Well, keep up the good work. So anyway, we always we're proponents of bootstrapping. Yeah, and there are a couple good reasons for it. You want to minimize the debt that you undertake, and sometimes when you're starting a company, you unfortunately might not be in a position when you're able to get a bank loan. It's not like banks are drooling about giving loans to new businesses that don't have sales and don't have profits. And sometimes people might consider taking on a partner, but you might not want to give up any ownership in your company. So there are some real reasons that you should.
Well, and everybody's situation is different, so it's not one solution fits all. So you have to understand how your situation is going to work with your personal and professional and family situation. I mean, I think it's key to not have that one, and you're great at that. You look at the person's personal side as well as the business side when you're helping them make decisions.
Well, let's. If you want to check that out, it's in the most recent edition of Entrepreneur Magazine, the May edition. So if you want to read more about examples of folks that have succeeded using bootstrapping, you can check it out there. But now we'd like to welcome our guest. We're going to welcome Julia Matheson to the Entrepreneur Exchange. Julia, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Julia started her career in international sales in the furniture industry. And worked in the travel industry in San Francisco, but decided that she wanted to do it herself, and started her own travel company that's sort of gravitated to what it is today, called Travel Julia's Way, and she provides travel planning consulting services, and glad that you're here. And that's a quick intro. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and some of the background on how you got started?
Yeah, sure. And that was actually a very good and concise introduction. And I actually really responded to a lot of the points you made about the article, the bootstrapping article, because, since I did start a virtual business, it's not like I had a lot of overhead that I needed a big cash outlay up front, but I have used a lot of, or some of those similar techniques, including moving in with Mom for a little bit. Living in San Francisco, if you've heard anything about the rent situation there, it's a disaster. And, and so I realized that I was on the road traveling so much and paying all this rent money, and it was just did not make any sense.
If you're going to pay crazy rent, you might as well enjoy the amenities of the city.
Right. And I did things like, sublease my apartment for, one time I was gone for 6 months. Before I started, and but that just wasn't cutting it. So,
how does someone get from Hickory to San Francisco and back?
And back, yeah.
Just a question.
Yeah. I had actually lots of friends. I sort of, after I finished business school, I was working in furniture, and then I had a family situation. My father actually passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
It's fine. He had a lovely life, and I really enjoyed being back home with them and with the family for that. But I think after he passed, I sort of was like, okay, I have this business degree, I'm living in this little town, and I don't have any friends here. It's time to move, spread my wings, so to speak. And I had lots of really great friends from all different stages of my life living in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And so I moved out there and, got my dream job pretty much immediately in international travel. That company organizes trips for usually French people or Europeans coming to the U.S. And so I did that job for about 4 years. And at the beginning, I loved it because I was using my languages and interacting with international folks, which has sort of been one of my driving passions all through my life. But the only travel I got to do would be to go visit the places we send our clients, which were lovely places, the national parks and Southern Florida or New York, but that kind of thing. But it was a volume-based business. It was high stress, and I realized not what I wanted to do. And so, again, living in San Francisco, it's such an entrepreneurial place. A lot of my friends had started or were running their own businesses. And so when I was off traveling, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I realized that I could do it myself. I didn't have to work for someone else doing what I wanted to do. I had the passion and the know-how about travel. I knew the industry from the backside. And so I just thought, I can do this.
I have a daughter that wants to get in the travel industry. That's why I was wondering.
Sorry?
I have a daughter who's going through NC State.
Oh, great.
I know that's what she wants to do.
It's a really exciting industry, and there's so many different avenues to go down. It's really impressive.
And tell us a little bit about the services that your company offers now.
Yeah. Well, I always like to say, and in fact, this past week, it was National Travel Agent Day, a day to recognize the profession, because a lot of people say, like, oh, I thought you died. I thought that industry went away because of the internet.
Did you get Julia flowers?
Well, it's also Small Business Week this week.
Oh.
So we got a lot of things going on.
Okay, well, I'll get you flowers.
All right, yeah, I look forward to that.
But the difference between what the internet does for someone looking to book a trip and what I do, I always say a trip is more than a flight and a hotel. There's a lot more that goes into it, especially if you really want to experience the destination. So I really, I do a number of different things. I have an initial consulting call with my clients where I find out more about them and what they're looking for, what kind of activities they like. If I know them, then I have some background information, but if I don't, I try and get to know them a little bit. And then I match make, is an escorted trip or a, all-inclusive resort going to work for them and going to meet their needs, or do they want to get off on their own? And, then if they want to get off their own, that's really where my skills shine, because I'm able to really customize and build and design a trip that meets their needs, that, goes to the places they want to go, and then also suggest maybe a secondary destination that they didn't know that they wanted to see that's right around the corner. And so I arrange everything from the flights and accommodation to, private guides, dinner reservations, activities, day-long excursions, all that kind of stuff. Everything that makes something more than just a trip.
So a very customized, tailored experience for somebody.
Yeah.
So
and just this week I've had clients in Spain, and I got daily updates from the supplier telling me, okay, they enjoyed their trip through the Basque Country, whatever it was that day. They made it to the airport safely. So it's really great. I'm really following along with my clients while they're traveling. So in case anything goes kerflooey, I'm there and ready to react.
Kerflooey.
Kerflooey. It is international
I like
travel.
that name.
it's a technical business.
I like that. I really like that.
We'll get you caught up. Don't worry. So I would think that, and I've visited your website, so it looks to me like you've had the experience of traveling to many of these places. So it's not like you're just sitting, in a basement somewhere saying, "Oh, this looks cool." Yeah, you've actually had those experiences.
Yeah.
So it's not, you bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, I like to think so. I mean, and that is why I went into travel, is because I have traveled. I was fortunate enough to start traveling with my family early, as a young person. And like I said, I've always had an international focus and have always either tried to work internationally or travel internationally. And I've lived abroad a couple times through my studies, both undergraduate and graduate. And so not only do I have a huge breadth of travel experience, which I think is part of the reason why I understand how to kind of build a good travel experience, build a good day. I always say I create great days. But then now that I'm running my own business, I structure it so that I am gone somewhere, maybe a third of the year or something like that, exploring new destinations and or going back to old favorites and forging relationships with hoteliers and suppliers on the ground and that kind of thing. So,
and you also lead some trips for your clients as well. So,
that's where I'm wanting to head. Last fall, I designed and hosted a pilgrimage through France for my mom's church, for the church here in Hickory. And I always like to say, it was a pilgrimage, but it wasn't churches. I mean, we did all the things. It was through France, so that's a little non-traditional for pilgrimages. And we did go to some of the great pilgrimage sites, like Mont Saint-Michel and Chartres. But we also, went to Normandy, to the landing beaches, because if you're passing through Normandy and you skip that, you're not really getting a full picture of the destination. We went wine tasting and champagne tasting when we went through to see Cluny Abbey in Eastern France. So we had a lot of fun along with our pilgrimaging.
That's cool. So let's talk a little bit about your business and the way you're set up. As we've said, you're physically located here in beautiful Hickory, North Carolina, but it's a very small town and not exactly a travel planning mecca. But
you might be surprised, actually.
Okay, well, but it doesn't. You can do your business from anywhere.
Yes.
And tell us about how you are set up and how you find your clients and what it's like running a virtual business.
Yeah. It's really the laptop lifestyle. Wherever I have my laptop and Wi-Fi, I can work and do. I was working last week in Punta Cana a little bit, outside of the meetings I was in. So obviously I have a website, but really on my website I have a lot of content. I have a blog, because I started blogging even before I started the business. So I sort of looped I call them stories from the road, because I sort of had a running diary on some of my travels. But also I have a huge section of tips and guides. I do a newsletter every week. It just went out this morning, where I provide a travel tip, and I do it in video form. So I have a pretty robust YouTube channel where, some of the videos only get 10 or 20 views, but, you tag them correctly, and I have one that has 40,000 views, which is really just insane to me.
That's close to celebrity status. That's right.
It's amazing. But it has gotten me some clients, and also just doing the newsletter, and something that I really shied away from doing it. I didn't start it until about the second year of my business, because I thought, people don't want to hear from me. I hate newsletters. I don't want to get a newsletter every week. But I did. I put on my business pants and I sent it to basically every email that I had that I knew that, I could recognize the person behind that email. And, 400, 500 people, and it has kind of gone down a little bit, but it's growing again. And, that has netted me, I think, a lot of my clients, because they say, oh, yeah, I know you're the travel girl. Or, oh, look at what Julia from college is doing. I should give her a call. And so I've gotten a lot of my clients through my newsletter. And I think the consistency of that is what's key, is no matter where I am in the world, they get an email from me. And, sometimes it might be a little bit more bare bones if I have iffy Wi-Fi. And like this week, I had a ton of content. I did all kinds of videos this week, so there was lots of different links and stuff in there. So, and it's not a salesy. It's not
just information.
It's not like book today and get my 25% discount on a cruise or something like that. No. I get some of those on occasion.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's sort of I work with a coaching company, which I'll talk about later, and they say, and I love this. Think of it as your virtual storefront. I don't have a storefront on Main Street, here in Hickory on the square that people walk by and are reminded of me, and so instead they get this email that's, oh yeah, that's Julia. Listen, let's see what kind of clients she's working on this week, and what's going on in her business and where she's going. Maybe I can join one of her trips, that kind of a thing, and hopefully get some valuable travel tips in the process.
So do you, when you look at your client base, is there any geographic sense to it, or is it scattered all over the place, or how when you look at it, how does it look?
Yeah, well, it is scattered all over the place. I will say that since moving back to Hickory, I have had a few more local folks realize or remember that I'm in town, and so they can call me. But no, I really do have, just through my personal networks, through college and grad school, my friends are all over the place, and so I have clients kind of all over the place as well. And they're, California, Northeast, Texas, Southeast, all over the place.
And just want to be clear, because we've gotten complaints from some of our listeners that we would never let someone from Duke University on our podcast. Julia actually attended Duke University.
Right.
I did.
Yeah, I was thinking of walking, but I'd have to walk sooner with you for being from Carolina.
All right.
I like to think I'm a nice Dookie, so
there we go.
It's not basketball season.
So far, so good.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
So you talked a little bit about videos, and you said you had a YouTube channel. What in terms of other ways that you're getting your message out? You talked about newsletter. Is social media a big way to get your message out? What are other ways that you go about marketing yourself?
Yeah, social media is basically a baseline. You pretty much have to be on social media in my opinion. So if people hear about me or see one of my videos, the first thing they're going to do is look me up on either Facebook or Instagram. And I am definitely active on both of those. Those are tricky because the algorithm changes, every week or something like that. So you can't depend on them. But for relationship building, absolutely, they are a must. And, and for client building, Instagram is such a powerful tool.
Well, I think especially for your business.
Yeah, it's a visual business, and there's so many travel bloggers out there, and so you definitely have to have a presence on there, and that's where the hashtagging game really becomes very important. Is learning how to hashtag your content so that people actually find it, rather than just getting a lot of likes. It's not about. The thing with Instagram to know, and somebody told me this, and it really helped my mindset around it, is that it's not, that you have millions of followers. You could have 500 followers, and if they're all very active and very involved, that's way better. So that's helped me as far as, playing the social media game.
So you mentioned the hashtag game. And are there you have any advice for people when they're trying to hashtag their posts to make them more findable, or have the right people find them? Or, what's your philosophy there?
Yeah, well, you can't think about it from your perspective. You have to think about it from a potential client's perspective. What is the potential client going to be searching for to find, that your service then fills that need? So what are the needs that they're looking for? Is it a luxury hotel, or is it, customized travel? Mm-hmm. That's actually one I don't use and might be a good one. But, I always, travel agent, travel consultant, those are obviously the kind of no-brainers. But the other thing with hashtags is you actually don't want to use the ones that have millions of items in them. So if you're searching,
there are too many out there, you'll get lost in the shuffle.
You get lost immediately. So, somewhere, 5,000 to 30,000 items, those are more the hashtags that I try and aim for, rather than travel, which has 8 million bazillion hits.
And unlikely that people will stumble across you.
No.
So, and you mentioned your weekly newsletter, and sounds like email is a big way you go.
Email marketing is still really powerful.
And what platform do you use when you're out there communicating with people?
So I use a company called iContact. MailChimp is fine. I actually have to use it for a free offering that I have to collect the emails, but the problem with some of the free services is that sometimes your newsletter will be accompanied by ads, and that's just noisy and confusing for the reader. So that's definitely something that I invest money. I think it's, I don't even know, maybe $30 a month or something like that.
Not a crazy number.
But it's worth it because, I designed the template. It looks exactly the way I want it to look, and it's clean, and, and then you own the list, and that's what's important and what's necessary.
And you talk about getting the look that you want in terms of developing your brand and graphics and things. What was your thought process there? Did you did you come up with it? Did you get some help?
Not at all.
How'd that work?
Not at all. So I actually have gone through a rebrand. When I first launched, I was working under the name Matheson Travel, which was fine, and I actually had a really great friend who's a graphic designer help me with those graphics, and they were lovely. But as I developed my business and as it evolved and as I realized where I wanted to take it, it wasn't the look and feel that I wanted to convey after all. So I
think that's a good message.
Yes. You have to be able to be pivot.
To pivot, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was fine, and I do, have some sentimental love for it. I haven't gotten rid of it, but it had an Eiffel Tower. It was very clean.
Cool.
But so I I worked with a graphic designer who is based in Asheville. She was in Charlotte and worked with a friend of mine, so it was a personal connection. But she has her own graphic design business, and she has a really interesting mix that attracted me of corporate and art. So she hand drew my signature, and we went through lots of iterations. I put her through the ringer, and she kept giving me Carolina colors. And I said, I cannot have a Carolina blue logo. So it's a little more navy.
I can understand. You got to find the right balance there.
Yeah,
I'm sure your sales would go through the roof if it was Carolina blue. But anyway, go ahead.
Or black and gold.
There you go. But no, I had my vision, and I was very clear on who my clients were and what message I wanted to convey visually. And sort of the feeling I wanted to convey visually. And so that really helped us finally get to where we got. And she's worked on not only my logo, my website, my business cards, sort of the standard things, your tools that you need, but other projects. Like I said, I have a free offer, bestparisneighborhoods.com. Got to get that in there. And I created 5 maps of neighborhoods of Paris. And so I worked with her to create these maps, and she was great about making sure it was in my budget, because for a client attraction tool, you don't want it to be thousands of dollars. Right. And so, we worked out a way to make it look custom and fresh and in my branding, but affordable. And it's been really exciting so far.
And I would think that in your business, referrals are a very important part of growing the business. Any advice for folks on how you get referrals, or is it just being out there and having a good presence and doing good work for people?
I like to think so.
Yeah.
Well, no. So there are lots of different ways. Yeah, you can get new business. I personally have gone the referral route. You can do events. I know a lot of people do bridal shows or family festivals and that kind of thing and have a giveaway. And that's another great way to get clients. But I knew, just because I was in San Francisco and traveling so much and then moving here, I just didn't think that was going to be the route for me. And so I don't even think that I focused on referrals. I definitely ask for them. I send all of my clients a handwritten welcome home note with some business cards thrown in there and just say, a referral is the greatest compliment you can give me, that kind of thing. But I actually don't do any incentive programs, just because I don't want someone to be sending me clients or potential clients for the benefit they may get. I think it's cleaner.
And hopefully you're getting the right clients that way.
Right. So. And, and then there's no obligation. I just think it's cleaner just to sort of, be appreciative when they do come my way. And I have a couple friends that are really great referrers. And, if they don't, then it's up to me to find them. Pull on my bootstraps and find them.
Well, I also like the handwritten note, welcome home notes. Yeah. I think that's a very personal and nice touch.
Yeah.
So that sounds good.
Yeah. I got to get 2 of them out today, actually.
Well, any advice you can share with other people starting their businesses, at least in a virtual way, to say, here are some things I might have stepped in or mistakes that maybe you can avoid?
Yeah. Well, I got some really great advice at the very beginning that I ignored because of fear. And it was, specialized. It was be very clear on what it is that you really want to sell. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into France or Paris. And now, 4 years later, I'm trying to attract more France and Paris clients because I want to be booking more of that. So, don't be afraid to specialize. Specializing is really key, because then you can actually market to a specific set of people and be really clear on, who your target market is, who your ideal clients are. I mean, some people go so far as to really create an avatar for their ideal client. I kind of don't really have an exact avatar, but I know who they are, and be really clear on what it is that you bring to the table that solves their need, as you said earlier. So if you're crystal clear on that to begin with, the rest of the stuff, the strategy about how you want to market, where you want to be, what your brand wants to look like, that all kind of flows after that. But I think it's really important to get that foundation first.
What's kind of interesting is faculty member to hear. Those are the things that we teach in class.
Very good.
And that you do need to carry them through to the real world.
Well, we're validated. There we go.
Exactly.
So as you look back on the traveling you've done in your business, what are the most exotic locations you've been to?
Well, just this past January, I actually took a real vacation, which a lot of my travels aren't so vacation-y anymore. But I did. I went to Sri Lanka, which is a really, really fascinating place and a really interesting mix of the Indian culture, which I thought, but also the Southeast Asian culture. It's almost completely Buddhist island. Almost everybody is Buddhist, and so it's much more sort of like Thailand and Cambodia than I expected. I've been to some pretty cool places. Egypt, I have a friend that's in Egypt right now, and it's really bringing back some great memories of when I was there about 10 years ago. The single greatest travel experience I've ever had, though, was a wedding in India.
Wow.
Yeah, in grad school, one of my friends was of Indian descent, and her father is the only one that left the country. And so a whole bunch of us went over there, and we traveled around for a couple weeks, and just being in such a fascinating environment that's totally different, and it's absolutely beautiful country. The history, the culture, the food, and being with a whole group of friends. I mean, it was really, really great.
See, I would think that would be one way to get the guest list down, and say, hey, we're going to get married in India, so feel free.
Not when you plan it a year in advance. Yeah. If you plan it a year in advance, people will come. They had about 75 Westerners at that wedding. So.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Well, Julia, we very much appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah.
And if people want to find you, where should they be looking?
www.traveljuliasway.com.
All right. So that's you should go out and check it out because there's free resources out there. There's a lot of videos that talk about different locations to visit and whatnot. So if you're planning travel or want to daydream about travel, it is a good place to visit.
Yeah.
So.
And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Travel Julia's Way.
All right.
Pretty easy.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much.
That was great.
And at the end of each podcast, we like to share a little small business that we're familiar with. And Julia, you were going to share one that you've done some work with.
Yeah, I'll actually give 2 plugs, if that's okay. My graphic designer out of Asheville was wonderful, and her company is Long Live Simple. And like I said, she does all kinds of different projects for branding, consulting, and logo design, and all kinds of really great things. And I think she does a really nice job. So that's Long Live Simple. And then what I really attribute a lot of my growth and success to is actually an educational small business. It's the Global Institute for Travel Entrepreneurs, and otherwise known as GIFT.
That rolls right off the tongue.
It does, right? It's terrible. But the GIFT is a wonderful organization that's not about product selling, it's about how to run a business, how to run a virtual travel business. And their website is travelbusinessu, the letter U.com. And so if you're looking to get into travel there, or if you're struggling with a travel business, they're a really great resource. And they're in Mooresville. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
Thank you. Gary, what's your small business this month?
Jeff, my small business of the month is Blue Buffalo Dog Food.
Blue Buffalo
Are
Dog
they small?
They're not small. But I saw them and I love the name.
Okay.
I love either talking about food or
You get distracted by
animals.
shiny objects.
I
We know
And
this.
so it's a great story, I think. Their motto is, just like you, we're dog and cat parents. Pure and simple. Have you all heard of?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I said the way you said. That's great. So they're not small, but it was a great story. They don't own dogs and cats. They're family members that love, respect. Their office looks like a pet playground with furry friends in every part of the rooms and all over the place. I really thought it was really cool. But what's in the beginning? Have you heard of it?
No, go ahead.
There was Blue, Bill and Jackie's large breeded Airedale, one of the best pals they ever had.
Is this Carolina Blue or Duke
I think
Blue?
it's kind of got a little bit of blue.
Okay.
And Duke. It's got both blues actually in the logo. And
all right, sorry, go ahead.
But Blue had a struggle with cancer, and that's what prompted them to take seriously the interest in a wide range of pet health food issues inspired by the Bishop family, to make super premium pet food using only the finest natural ingredients, starting with the real chicken, lamb. I'm doing a commercial now, by the way.
No, you're doing
Working
great.
with leading veterinarians and animal nutritionists, and they've developed Blue Life Protection Formula for dogs and cats, which has become the #1 selling natural pet food in America, so they aren't small. Created by the pet parents for pet parents, and they hope to try Blue and dog food, get everybody to be trying this. And of course, I'm a pet lover, so it hit me when I saw it on TV, and I said, I need to look this up.
So you've tried the food?
Yes, my dog has it.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's how it tasted.
It's very good.
Okay, good.
So that's mine. It's not a small business, but it was once a small business.
All right. Well, my small business of the month actually was a suggestion from one of our listeners who contacted us, a P. Weiss in New York, who sent us a suggestion that actually goes along a little bit with our travel theme today, but I fear it might make Julia break out in hives because he suggested another online business, which is called the Disney Food Blog, and guess what it does?
Except what you're going to do at a Disney facility?
But it just focuses on Disney food. It offers in-depth news, reviews, and information about food in restaurants in Disney parks, resorts, and cruise ships. And I always say this because I'm not sure that...
That's incredibly valuable information.
That the Disney area is something that Julia specializes in.
Never.
So that's not necessarily her
Use a Disney
niche.
specialist. You need a Disney specialist, but that is a useful blog.
Well, so they have a very specific niche, and it's an independent company, the Disney Food Blog. It's not represented. It's not part of the Walt Disney Company, and it's not employed by them or affiliated with them, which hopefully means that their reviews and reports are very unbiased. And it was the owner and founder is a woman named A.J. Wolf, who's been visiting Disney parks all of her life, and she says that her favorite thing to do at Disney parks is not go on rides, but to eat. So she started focusing on Disney food while she was on a trip from graduate school. She lives in Texas. She says she likes both Disney World and Disneyland, and because she's in the middle, she gets to visit both. She's got free information on her blog with reviews, pictures, information about food options, discounts, recommendations. Does a lot of online advertising. You see Disney packages, hotels, restaurants. For some reason, I was getting a lot of AARP ads showing up on mine. I'm sure that was unintentional. I don't know why that would happen. But anyway, you can check them out at www.disneyfoodblog.com. And we thank Mr. Weiss for sending that suggestion to us. And if you've got a suggestion for our Entrepreneur Exchange Small Business of the Month, you can email it to us at eexchange@themesh.tv. So send us your suggestions, and if we use them, like we use this one, you'll get the Entrepreneur Exchange prize pack. So,
which is very exciting.
I know. I think we're going to put a 32-ounce drink from McDonald's in the last
There we go.
one. So I hope that
It'll
travels
be a little
well.
flat by the time it gets back to him, but it'll be.
It's all good.
That's
anyway.
Right.
We want to thank Julia Matheson for joining us today, and you can check out her business, Travel Julia's Way, at www.traveljuliasway.com, and look her up on Facebook, look her up on Instagram. Some really good stuff out there. It is getting toward vacation season, so now is the time to be contacting Julia. We want to thank the Mesh Podcast Network. You can download us and all of the fine shows on the Mesh Network at themesh.tv, or you can subscribe at the iTunes store. So we hope you'll do that. And we look forward to talking with you again next month. Thank you.
It's a great podcast, as usual.
All right. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.